Now, for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, we have with us in the studio Dr. Ibrahim Modibo. He's a media executive and a public affairs commentator. Good morning, Dr. Modibo.
Thank you. Good morning, JT. Good morning, Charles, and good morning, Yolanda.
Good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Modibo.
Good to see you.
Likewise.
All right, let's begin with our sister publication, Newspaper of Records This Day newspaper. On its front page, the big headline there, 2027. Presidency in panic mode, ADC coalition alleges. Insists president not governing Nigeria. That's on the front page of This Day. Meanwhile, Peter Obi declares he won't buy 150 billion naira jet when people are dying. Also, South-South groups trade tackles over support for ADC. At the top there, Tinubu to military. We mustn't mortgage Nigeria's future to division and indifference, as he describes the country's security challenges as existential. He also gives military marching order to confront and defeat those undermining the country. At the top mast there on the front page of This Day, from the World Bank, Nigeria stuck in lower middle income economy below Libya, and Gabon also stresses the country not ranked among heavily indebted poor countries. Dr. Modibo, let's take a look at 2027 presidency. One thing is certain, 2027 race has begun, right? With the coalition picking ADC as the vehicle to use to run for 2027. What are your thoughts on what the ADC is alleging?
Well, Nkechi, if you look at politics globally, no serious-minded Democrat will underrate opposition. You will agree with me that within the Nigerian context, and if you look at the confederation of serious-minded politicians across different party lines that came to form the ADC, when I saw that momentum where they converge to adopt ADC, I said, well, this is democracy in action. You see, the formation of the ADC, it's a wonderful development to the political history of this country. Whether we like it or not, one-party state, Nigeria cannot be it. One-party state represents anything but democracy within sub-Saharan Africa. My major concern, Nkechi, is that when you look at the issues surrounding the brickbats that tends to emerge from the government spokespersons and also others from the opposition, my heart bleeds for this country. From day one, we've started seeing brickbats. There is a kind of media war with no standards set for moderation. I'm happy that Mr. Peter Obi is setting standard by looking at issues, which is supposed to be the major fulcrum of modern politicking. You attack issues. Unlike what we've seen at the formation of the ADC, you'll agree with me that what came out from the spokesperson of the government and also from some ADC people was nothing but what I call lavish display of political rascality. Therefore, I want to believe that there should be standard. We should look at issues. You don't call people criminals. You don't call people looters when they've not been confronted, taken to court of law, and they've been adjudged to be so. And you also don't call some people Jagaban bandits, you know, when you know very well that you don't attach somebody's name to banditry and what have you. So I think there's no standard, there's no bearing. Therefore, there's need for moderation. There's need for us to set standard in a civilized setting as Nigeria, where we have members of the diplomatic community residing in Abuja. Listening to all this, to our leaders, is not a good thing for Nigeria.
Right. Well, Dr. Modibo, the issues from the ADC are never ending. from within the ADC camp, and that's from the Sun newspaper. The headline reads, "Pressure mounts on Obi to run as Atiku's vice president." Well, there is a response to that, and it's found in the Leadership newspaper, where Mr. Peter Obi now says, "I'm running for president, not VP," Obi declares. So these two headlines are together in the Sun newspaper. It does, from the Atiku camp, they say it would be in the interest of the Southeast if Obi agrees to be Atiku's VP, just like in 2019. If he agrees, Atiku will run for one term and hand over to him. But it appears Mr. Peter Obi is definitely not buying that, as he says in the Leadership newspaper. He says, "I'm running for president, not as vice president." So it appears as if a rift is already emerging in the ADC.
We have to be circumspect, Mr. Charles, from where we're coming from and most likely where we're heading to. Now, in the interest of Nigeria, in the interest of fair play, there is need for us to broaden the spectrum and the threshold of discussion when it comes to politicking, especially institutional opposition. There's a need to calibrate all sentiments, all issues that has to do with personal, perceptions about leadership. There's a need for them to sit together to iron out the differences in terms of interest. We know politics is all about interest, but then, for the purpose of Nigeria, and for purpose of giving the current government a fight of its own money, there's the need to sit down, articulate the trajectory that could be purposeful, that could be meaningful, and could give Nigerians another option. Because by so doing, Nigerians will have a choice, whether to go with the Tinubu administration or to go with the new format. Therefore, to me, there is a need for them to bury their personal interests at the moment. Let us not hear them talking about intention as it is today. Because it is just barely 1 week or two that this party has just been, it's kind of rebirth just for a week or two. And therefore, there's a need for them to sit down, articulate their positions, look at critical issues that has to do with principles. What do they have to offer to Nigerians as an alternative to government? What are they going to be? What is going to be their selling points? The principles, and also the modus operandi of party politicking. Let them organize themselves rather than trying to talk about interests of who becomes the president or vice president. What they need to do is to see how Nigeria could be moving towards the right trajectory with a view to having a fine democratic setting within sub-Saharan Africa.
Now, Dr. Modibo, to just piggyback on the points that you've made there, I'd like us to pull up the Vanguard newspaper and take this headline that says, "ADC begins takeover of PDP structures in northern states." Now, the ADC is reportedly beginning to take over the structures of the PDP in northern states, indicating a strategic move to consolidate power in the region. What is your opinion on this?
Yes. Yolanda, if you look at, there are states now, about 3 or 4 that have been mentioned. If you look at Yobe, they say Gombe or Adamawa or either Borno, where so far the ADC seems to be having an inroad. And I think from all intents and purposes, I think the ambience of discourse and also the reception of Nigerians towards a new party, which is obvious. Anything new, even if you buy a new cloth, you'll be anxious to wear it. And therefore, this thing that is coming new, there is this preponderance of people pandering to the whims and caprices of what is new and what is upcoming. And Nigerians, having found themselves in a state of quagmire where there is problem associated with feeding, problem associated with economy, problem associated with insecurity, they are looking for an option. And therefore, to me, with the current problem associated with the PDP, especially where we see a lot of their top-notchers leaving the party to the FCT Minister, Nelson Wike, I think we are on the road to perdition, so to say. The party seems to be on the road to perdition, because the people that are left there, or the people that have left there, might not be able to form a solid foundation that could fight the government in power. And therefore, the drifting has just started. And I'm sure that so many people might like to come in. That is also the beauty of democracy that gives a latitude to the APC. They have time, the presidents have time, 1 or 2 more years by its side, where it could try to make sure that it makes Nigeria tick for Nigerians, where the economy will improve, security will improve, social well-being, give people good source of life. If they do that, why can't they change the rhythm?
Yeah, Dr. Mojibo, when you said this new party, Nigerians are looking for a new party, I just chuckled to myself because I remember the words of the Minister of the FCT, Nyesom Wike, who says, look, these Nigerians are tired. These are same old faces who are always reinventing themselves every election cycle, coming with new slogans, but the same baggage. So we'll see how that pans out. Let's take a look at different headlines from the New Telegraph. This morning, it says, killings, President Tinubu orders military to confront terrorists, and bandits reaffirms commitment to armed forces. And just at the top mast on the front page of New Telegraph, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, flays call for rise in taxes, says, look, the airline industry is not a cash cow. And just to piggyback off that, the Daily Independent, experts warn of deeper hardship despite the IMF optimism on Nigeria, charge federal government on fiscal discipline without pushing millions into poverty. And at the bottom there, you have from 64 billion naira to 532 billion naira. CCECC abandons second Abuja rail runway project. Dr. Modibo, this is just one of many projects that have been abandoned in Nigeria. Remember back in 2023, that runway was supposed to be built for 90 billion, and then they come back for a demand of 532 billion. Now they've packed up, they're gone, it's abandoned. Who is going to account for the money already advanced for this project?
Wow, Nkechi, this is a very loaded question that I don't know from which angle to start, but let me start, since you brought the issue of the FCT minister. I think in all this, I think he represents everything that a gentleman and a leader ought not to be. When I see him insulting our elders and leaders. Some of these people that he has been insulting, like the Senate president, he was a governor when maybe Wike was in primary school. And talking about Atiku Abubakar Turaki, Wazir of Adama and other top notchers of the party. These are people that you start together, you've been in conformity, you've been sharing political ideas together. So because of politics now, you are, sending serious verbal insults, personal insults to them. I think that's not the way to go. The best way is to attack issues, look at issues dispassionately, and not pandering to sentiments where you start sending personal insults. Now, having done that, the second one, you are talking about what again, Nkechi?
I'm talking about the abandoning of the second runway for Abuja.
Yes, you see, the second runway for Abuja is a very major project that should have been considered, having seen the kind of money that has been dispensed so far. It's a very sad commentary in the life history of this country that we tend to abandon. I think it was from either 65 billion to 500 or something billion.
64 billion
64
to
billion.
532 billion.
532 billion. Look at the gap. It's just like the International Conference Center now. They only made some paintings and just changed some louvers and toilets. That's all. And they said they spent 39 billion. Who could have given us another solid international conference center somewhere? There are a lot of lands that Wike has confiscated from people. They could have gone there to build another classic international conference center, even with change remaining out of that 39 billion. But just to do some painting and this thing, and just you know, based on sycophants, you start renaming it after the president. I think it's not a good development. Because when I saw that, I considered that Abia House. It was Ojikalo House. Some people, when the governor, another governor came, he removed it and made the Abia House. So we don't want things like that. So the president, I think, should take note of this. Now, the issue of abandoning projects in Nigeria is a recurring decimal. You agree with me, Nkechi, that look, most of these contractors, they have this wayo that they do. When they work, after some time, because they don't want to finish it and just remain like that, and also because of the fact that they want variation. Once they leave it, by the time they come back, they will say, no, the cement has now been added 10,000 per bag or this and that. They start competing and they want variation. So I think the government should stamp its feet. And that is one area too that I want to commend Wike. If you look at most of his projects, he doesn't compromise all this wayo. Once he gives you the money and everything, you must finish it based on his timelines. So therefore, the Minister of Aviation, Festus Keyamo, whom I know personally, should be able, he's a very decisive minister and also one of the action ministers that I think is performing. So he should stamp his feet on the sands of time so as to produce the second runway. By whatever means, he should make them come back to work and finish the job.
I mean, he has come out to speak up on that and also to condemn that company for abandoning the project. There's just so many issues around that, but we don't have much time. I think we'll move over to some international papers now.
Okay.
Absolutely. Let's pull up the Daily Telegraph and look at what's there. I think on the front page we have Labour willing to explore wealth tax. If we can pull up the Daily Telegraph, the summary basically of the story is that the Labour Party has expressed openness to exploring the implementation of a wealth tax, signaling a potential shift in fiscal policy. This is a very interesting story because it says Labour is willing to explore and proposing that by the former leader that a 2% tax on assets worth more than 10 million pounds could help raise about 10 billion a year for the Treasury. This is very interesting. What do you say in comparison of how we are taxed in Nigeria and what the Brits are willing to do, Dr. Modibo?
I think it's a commendable effort from Labour, having had the thought of taxing the rich, you know, within the society. Because if you look at the burden, especially within the Nigerian context, you find out that, you know, the poor man is always made to tighten his belt. And I'm sure by now the belt has even gone to the last size that is even trying to cut. People no longer wear trousers now, they just carry this rope and this so that there will be no belt. Therefore, it's because of poverty. There is lack of, you know, wherewithal to even feed. Somebody that has not even fed very well, how do you tax him? Somebody that doesn't have a job. Millions of young people, you see somebody graduating from the university, spending 10, 15 years in his father's house, eating his father's money, food free, without having a job. There's nothing to do. So some of these people, because if their fathers are rich, they resort to taking drugs and whatever to be sleeping the whole day. So this is what government is all about. The rich should be taxed. But in Nigeria, you find out that some of the rich people, I don't want to mention names, but there are rich people today that are given tax holidays. They have companies that are multi-billionaire in concept and in configuration. But at the end of the day, the totality of it all is that they don't even pay tax. So it's only the common man that is being tied to the aprons of taxes, and taxes.
Thank you, Mr. Modibo. Dr. Modibo, just before we go, I wanted to touch up on one more headline, which is in the Times, that says PM is facing revolt over special needs help. Now, basically, the Prime Minister is reportedly facing dissent within his party regarding the provision of support for individuals with special needs. This is 1 year into Keir Starmer's administration, and it's not really looking good for him at the moment. I think that just might tie in a little bit with what you're saying, but unfortunately, we don't have time to take that story. Thank you, Dr. Modibo, for joining us today on the newspaper review. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for here on Daybreak. I'm Yolanda Roberts.
And I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
Next up, it's the morning show. Keep it here on Arise News. I am Nkechi Nana.